Hi guys, I speak about this on the show, but in usual Khandaan fashion, we hadn't planned anything and I just blurted it out. So I thought I'd add a little note before the show starts. With the year coming to an end and so many new people tagging us in Spotify Wrapped, we went and had a look at our download numbers this year. And I'm so happy to say that our Khandaan has grown into millions of people. And we want to thank our listeners and our followers who have joined us on this journey. This year has not been easy for any of us. So follow us on Instagram or TikTok. Drop us a comment saying you are a new follower and we will send you some Khandaan merch. It could be a sticker or a t-shirt or a tote bag. We'd have lots of fun stuff. We leave this open until the end of the year and then start reaching out to people to get their mailing addresses. It's our little way to thank our Khandaan. I hope you guys enjoy it and enjoy the show. Hi, this is Asim.
This is Sujoy.
This is Amrita.
And you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast about the three main Khans of the Hindi film industry.
Amir,
Salman,
and Shara.
Hi, you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast regular feed. Thank you so much for your support over the years. We now have a Patreon channel with bonus content and exclusive merch for those of you who would like to support us. Every dollar goes towards creating more and better content. Visit us at patreon.com/Khandaan podcast.
Hi and welcome to a new episode of Khandaan Podcast. My name is Asim Bernie and I'm joined with my lovely co-host Amrita and Sujoy. Hey Amrita, hey Sujoy.
hello, lovelies.
Hello.
And with us we have joining top friend Beth. Hey top friend Beth.
Top friends! Hooray!
Bro.
We are our own Archies.
I think we're more Riverdale than Archies when you think about it.
Yes.
I'm the tree. I'm the tree in Green Park.
This week our main review will be the Archies, but we want to catch up on a few other things before that. Stuff we watched, emails we got about Animal. But let's start about Animal. Beth, you have decided you will not be watching this movie. You will not be partaking in the discussion of Animal.
That is correct.
And so we decided to start this episode with animal discussion.
I'm always game to hear the discussion of stuff I haven't seen, though, because clearly this has set people off. So I want to know.
How have the vibes been, Amrita, Sujoy, like online? Have you still been following the discussion about this, about Animal? Or like, because for me, it came and a lot of people are talking about it. I realize that. But I've also disengaged with all of the conversation about it. I think, like, I don't know.
Yeah, since we recorded the episode, I think I've totally, like, whenever I see a post, something like some bro has posted like a 20-tweet thread about Animal and the many meanings or whatever life's new meaning they have found in Animal's imagery, I just scroll away. I'm like, I'm done with this movie, I'm done. Like, people are having live streams and all of that, and good for them for finding their, whatever that is, and I'm just done with this movie. We have completely washed it off with our 1 hour plus discussion of the movie after we watched it. I think it's done for me.
I did think that there was one thing that a lot of women were talking about, which is that this movie seems to have triggered past trauma about sexual violence that they've suffered. And I thought that was something that we didn't really address in our review, through ignorance, I would say. And I think, like, that's a good point. Like, we don't have, like, who are we to say, we did say that some of the reaction to Animal was a little over the top. But as we've said repeatedly on this podcast, cinema is one of the most personal mediums out there for the creator and the consumer. And people react to movies in intensely personal ways. And if this movie is triggering memories of past abuse, that is terrible. That is a valid concern and that is terrible. on a lighter note, today that we are recording, Vidya Jamwal posted this bonkers Twitter thread where I don't even know what he was trying to do, but I think he was trying to position himself as, like, the epitome of Hindu virile male.
Yeah.
Because he said that, like, he started going to the Himalayas to meditate, which he apparently does naked. And he posted these pictures of him, like, buck naked. I don't know, like cooking by a stream. I don't even know what that was. But it was just really, really funny.
And it was at the end of a long thread of all sorts of tweets, and he was like, "I vibrate something, I vibrate whatever."
I'll read it out.
Hilarious.
The tweet is, "I vibrate at the frequency of compassion. I vibrate at the frequency of determination. I vibrate at the frequency of achievement. I vibrate at the frequency of action. I am now ready, excited for my next chapter, Crack, releasing in theaters on February 2023.
That's not a joke that could have been written, I swear. It's a movie called Crack.
And then he posted a picture that it's a movie starring him and Nora Fatehi, which that made me interested. It worked.
I mean,
it's giving Raj Kapoor waterfall vibes.
and Vidya
sorry, and all.
modern age Mandakini.
Correct.
like he's showing us his crack for his movie Crack. But it was, I guess, like, he just saw all the publicity that Ranbir got for getting naked in Animal, and he was like, bro, I can do that in real life. I'm gonna look like
anything out.
And Twitter continues to be a trash fire, but also, like, where else will you find content like this?
I can't leave it. I won't. It's too good.
Two things about Animal
Yes.
that I noted is the world has woken up to Tripti Dimri's amazingness.
Yes.
Which is funny because I was kind of going through my own Twitter thread and I was like, I was on this train from 2021. Like, I mean, like always my problem of being way in advance of everybody else. But chalo, der aaye drusta, I do find it so funny because this movie is just so incel driven. Like, even if you don't want to talk about like just the incelness of it, it just drives it because like a lot of people are tagging her as Bhabhi number 2, which is such like a beta male kind of thing. Like, even in your fantasy, she's not your girlfriend, she's tere bhai ki girlfriend. It just makes no sense to me. Like, first of all. And the second of all, Beth, because you've not seen the movie, maybe you've seen the clip. There's a sequence where they're heavily, passionately making out. And these are like 30, 40-year-old men, right? And he's given her like hickeys everywhere. And then he calls
I know what you're going to talk about.
like a car dealer, and he says, this is the height of romance, right? Like, look at the color of the hickey. This is the color of car I want. This is the exact same color. And then the car is just a basic ass maroon. It doesn't have anything. But it's like, that's the other thing. Like, this is the audience. It's the audience of boys that is still giving hickeys to women because they cannot have proper sex. Have you not aged out of it? Have you not learned how to kiss a woman? I thought those two things were funny.
Vanga is still giving hickeys to his wife, like his poor wife. Like, oh my god.
Guys, hickeys are not cool. It hurts. Don't do it. I'm just saying.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Okay. I asked for a few people to send us their thoughts about Animal, and a lot of people from Patreon and our listeners obliged. So I thought I'd read you out a few. This is from Viral. Great episode as always. I agree with what you said. I think personally, if we had more Anil Ranbir heavy scenes sprinkled throughout the movie and more of Bobby and his story, this would have been a hit from a story perspective. Right now, this film is like a beautiful car with no engine. I do think, though, that Ranbir is my generation's superstar. I think we agree with all of that. Like, I think more of Anil is something we've all wanted, and I don't know about Bobby. I thought Bobby was kind of okay. Like, I mean, I don't necessarily needed more of him, but yeah.
I think we might see more of him in the extended cut that we're going to get in streaming.
Yeah.
But
Three and
good
a
luck to
half,
those-
three and a half hour long movie. There is an extended cut as well.
Yeah. Like, good luck to whoever's watching that, because like that wouldn't be me. Thank you. I'm not spending 4 hours on this.
Samyukta wrote, I didn't think this movie was worth a ticket, so I watched it online. Samyukta, please send us the link that you used this, because I don't have any pirate sites anymore. I'm glad I did that. I hated it to the core, even though I like Ranbir in general. He was the only reason why I tried to watch it. It felt so pointless the whole movie. I forwarded all of the violent scenes, forwarded all of the scenes with Bobby there. Yeah. Understood. Understood. Guys, by the way, Amrita, you're not on TikTok. I don't know, Beth, are you on TikTok?
No.
That Afghani Irani song, Jamal Kudu, is just everywhere. It is like caught like wildfire. Like, people are just doing left and right music, like Bobby Deol glass on the head dances. It's crazy. It's gone unbelievably crazy.
And because like Instagram gets whatever TikTok is getting 2 days later or a week later, it's now on Instagram. It's everywhere now.
I'll see it there.
It's arriving on Facebook next month. Okay. And then we got a longer email from our friend Devansh. And he said, hey, Khandaan, hope you're doing well. Thank you for the quick review. You guys are the best. I need to read these parts out because I feel, it validates us. And thanks a lot for not dismissing the movie and its issues and just complaining about it. I think you guys rationalized the movie perfectly well with you thought that the director is conveying. I love the fact that you gave it 3.5 rating and gave all the actors performance rating. It was hilarious. Asim, you rock. The rest of the email is not that important. I'll just
when we began recording today, Asim rolled up and was like, hey, we have some emails to read. And I was like, really? Do we? And Asim was like, yes, I have to read these emails. And now you know why.
Yeah. Devansh also right. I had a blast while watching the movie and I loved it. The movie never felt long to me. I was low-key wishing it had more scenes since Bobby was introduced late in the movie. But I guess it's my love for Ranbir which made my movie experience this good. He talks a bit about it's a Pakka Vanga ki fantasy. In fact, when Bobby was introduced with lovely wedding music, I felt like it was Vanga's version of the Indian Godfather on steroids. But I would never have thought my bubble would burst very soon after I came home and started discussing the movie with my friend. When I was having a chat with my friend, we mostly discussed issues of the movie rather than the good parts. So it was the opposite after our watching Rocky and Rani, which we had too many good things to talk about, but that does not deny the fact that we loved it. We followed the director's vision, did not think too much about it while we were watching it. But yes, the movie had too many issues, and I don't want to list them as you guys already did. A movie recommendation for the podcast I would like to listen to is Chal Mere Bhai. Has Amrita not suffered enough to watch Chal Mere Bhai? We will get to it, Devansh. It's one that I want to rewatch, but we will get to it. Next week, we have Raja Hindustani, so suffering will be coming. There will be pain, people.
God. The funniest thing was this, today I was like hanging out with a friend who hadn't watched it, and she's been like following the discourse, and she said, wait, so Anil Kapoor doesn't die in the movie? Like, he's not dead? And I'm like, no, like, at the end of the movie, like, maybe he dies, but, he's fine, like, all throughout the movie. And she was like, but I thought it was a revenge fantasy. Like, who is Ranbir avenging if, like, his dad isn't even dead. Like, what is this movie? And honestly, that is not something that we touched upon. But yes, this is a revenge movie in which there is nothing to revenge. That is true.
It's revenging 3 days in the hospital. That's what it's revenging.
I think it was. Did we mention this? I don't know if we mentioned this in our discussion, but Sal, our friend Sal and the Bad Pun, who's been on the show before, she had this tweet up, I think the day the movie released or something, when she figured out what the movie was about. And she said, "Oh my God, they made a movie about how much he wants his dad to him." And I was like, I see it. I see it.
We did talk about that particular fight scene between Ranbir and Bobby to be almost symbolic about how Vanga wants to himself.
Yes.
I have to say, I was considering going to rewatch it again this week.
Also, I had several friends message me about how much you're a dead man, us and Bernie, for saying that you like this more than Jawan. Like, a lot of people were really upset with what you had to say.
Yeah, I am the Vanga of this podcast, basically. I'm the Nanga Vanga. I don't care. Come at me. Like I said, Jawan is not a good movie. It's not that good of a movie. It's fine. It's better. Said it enough. I also wanted to have a short thing. I didn't talk about this, but I just wanted to give a big shout out to everybody that added us on the Spotify Wrap this year. I don't know if we discussed this last episode, but I just wanted to give a little shout out because a lot of people were literally the top one podcast for so many people. And also, we looked at our analytics and all that, and there's millions of you. Like, millions of people are listening to us and our guests and our friends and the opinions we have. And I just wanted everybody in Khandaan to know that there are millions of you listening to the same bullshit. And I just thought that was like such a cool feeling,
What do you mean, bullshit? It's pearls of wisdom. Excuse you.
I just said Nanga Vanga 3 seconds. 30 seconds ago. This is bullshit. But I just wanted to thank everybody for listening. And I wish at least 1% of you joined Patreon. We would be literally that would be good. But I want to thank everybody for listening to us and supporting us. And it's just amazing that there's so many of you. I just wanted to say that. Let's get on to the show. Let's go talk about a few of the things we watched. Amrita, you watched a movie with... what is it called? You just call it Norwegian comedy movie? What is it called?
That's a very good question because I do not remember what it is called. So I think what I watched was I don't know if it was a dub, but it was... Wait a minute.
I'm looking for the name.
It's called Christmas as Usual. Is what the official IMDb name in English is.
And in Norwegian is Sarvar det Jul Igjen.
Yeah. So when the credits were playing, like that's the Norwegian, thing that played. So I can't remember what it's called in English. Christmas as Usual. There you go. It's about this very generic looking, but very pretty Norwegian woman who gets engaged to a brown man and invites him home for Christmas to introduce him to her family, but doesn't tell her family that he's Indian. So then they are just like super racist. Like Kanan Gill plays the Indian fiance, and he is completely clueless. He thinks everything is wonderful because he's like, oh my God, like this place is like Christmas threw up in a house. and he's like super, happy to be there and take part in everything. Meanwhile, her mom is saying things like, what do Hindus eat for Christmas? Do I need to make him a separate meal? And it's just, and there's this amazing thing where like, I think she's making chicken or something, and she takes out seasoning and it says Hindu seasoning. And I'm like, what does that mean? I don't even understand. But yeah, like his name in the movie is Jashan Joshi, like not Jashan Joshi. And they call him Shazam in the movie. Like her family just calls him Shazam, which isn't even like a microaggression. It's just straight up racism.
Is the movie in English or is the movie in Norwegian?
So I don't know. Like the version that I saw was in English, but I don't know if it was dubbed or just like Kanan was speaking in English and the others were like speaking. They do switch back and forth. Like, so when she's talking to her family, she's talking in Norwegian and you have subtitles. So, like a little bit of that. But otherwise, it's a very like, it's that Hallmark template of the woman who returns home and then, like there's like shenanigans going on, etc. It was fine, but it was also like, why would you want to marry this woman and be a part of this family? Because it felt very much like a white person's idea of like, things were fine by the end of the movie, where, like anybody who's brown is just sitting there like, what? What did we just sit through? Like, why would you think that was okay? Yeah, I don't know.
It's like
it was just a very weird experience.
Guess who's coming to dinner for IKEA meatballs? That's basically what
That is exactly what I thought. It's like, guess who's coming to dinner, except like in Norway.
Right.
Like, and not as clever or as incisive. Like it has like nothing really to say. Like her family don't even apologize. Like till the end, they're just like, yeah, like we don't, like, you can just let Shazam go. And then she runs to the airport and gets him. And I'm just like, ooh, I don't know. Maybe they'll do a sequel next year where like she and her family come to India for the wedding, and then like all the Indians are super racist to them, and they're just like, oh, look at the Gori, like maybe they can make that movie next year and see how they like it.
I do
Maintain
find
the
it
balance.
interesting that Kanan Gill stars in this movie, and a lot of people are just like suddenly posting like Kanan Gill is in a Norwegian movie. Like there's not been any big announcement, there's not been any PR push. He's not been, it's just like, it's almost like Marigold with Salman. It came, it went, nobody remembers it except Beth.
To be fair, if I was in this movie, I wouldn't want anyone to know that either. Like, I would be super pissed that Twitter found out that I was in this movie. Yeah, I get it.
I kind of want to watch it though. I want to see how it reflects my experience.
Sure.
I would genuinely be interested to hear what Asim has to say about it.
Yeah, you should do it. Do it for the podcast, Asim.
Beth, did you watch it?
Oh, I didn't even know it existed until Amrita said this.
Okay.
But I would watch it because obviously the Hallmark template is stupidly attractive at this time of year. I'm not above that. I mean, I do it ironically in some way, but like also not. And I am very interested in Western Europe trying to get a better handle on its racism that it doesn't like to talk about or admit. Like they love to point at the US for being racist, which we are, but like, you're not better than we are. You're just smaller and less diverse. So
Our
like,
racism,
I
our
love
racism
this.
is so strong that we get brown people to be racist. That's like British racism. Like, that's strong. Our racism. We made our own people drink the Kool-Aid. That's how good we are.
Kamala Harris cosign.
Yeah. Yeah,
But did you see? I think it's a Norwegian show, Home Till Yule or whatever. It's another Christmassy show that's on Netflix. That's super cute, and it does look like Christmas barfed all over a beautiful little town. And they travel by sled with their Christmas presents and their cakes and everything. Like, it's so charming it hurts. So I'm kind of imagining Khan and Gil, of all people, dropped into this, and then like everything goes. I'm here for it.
I do.
To be honest, it kind of gave me horror movie vibes. That was like
Get Out, right?
because like the house that they live in is sort of like a lodge. Like, it's like a wooden structure, and then you walk in, and it's almost like a shrine to Santa Claus. And I was just really creeped out, to be honest. And I like Christmas decorations. Like, it's one of my favorite things, but this was a little too much, to be honest.
Have you guys noticed, like, Norwegians are trying to, like, colonize Santa a little bit lately? Like, it's like Italians with pizza, right? Like, Italian, it's pizza is ours. Dude, it's bread with stuff on it. Everybody made it, It's like nothing Italian about it. Noodles came from China. It's not yours, But, like, I feel Norwegian is trying to do that with Santa when we all know Coca-Cola owns Santa. Like, I don't know how...
Darn right they do.
Plus, his ass is getting boycotted this year because BDS people. But anyway. Yeah, so I will check this out because I do want to know what this is about. I do like Khan and Gil. I do like the guy, although I don't like his stand-up that much. I did like his pretentious reviews, so I'll give it a chance. I'll let you know my thoughts about how interracial marriage and dating is done in Norway. Beth, you saw Shilpa Shetty's new movie. I did too, but I want to hear from you.
Yeah. I had, this was another that I had heard absolutely nothing about at all. And I was pleasantly surprised. I don't have a ton to say about it, but I, kind of middle-aged women trying to figure out how to connect back to the self they used to be and all, like, that's not uninteresting to me. And I thought it was perfectly fine. I don't have a lot more to say about it than it was perfectly fine.
Yeah, I thought it was... I actually went in with super low expectations. Like, I was like, I don't even interested in it. And my wife was watching it. And I was like, hey, like, I'll kind of like come in and out and watch it a little bit. And I was like, this is not that bad. Like, it's a solid 3-star movie kind of. Like, it is... It's really... remaking English Vinglish for Netflix, basically, right? Like... It doesn't have none of those grander themes. They mix and mash. There's also a whole thing about Shilpa Shetty riding horses, and like there's an extended jockey scene in there, and it has the worst special effects. But at the end, everything is fine, and they all get together. They do make one change, I feel. In English Vinglish, I think it always bothered me that Sridevi just totally went back to the family and no repercussions were had. Here, they do take a bit further steps towards that. And I thought that I kind of appreciated that. I don't know if that's a generational thing or we moved or they heard the criticism about English Vinglish. And her husband is terrible in this movie.
He really is. And I loved that they actually... I don't want to do spoilers, but like that marriage is seriously threatened in this movie. And that is not something you see very often. And that you were, or at least I was, rooting for her to leave with no qualms whatsoever because he's awful.
Yeah. And it is also just fun to see Shilpa Shetty again. Like, I don't know, like, it's a whole movie about her and she's just fun. Yeah. Like, She was a star, right? Yeah. And she does have that quality to kind of make you watch her on screen. She's very pretty,
And she's believable as I was a firecracker when I was younger and I'm kind of lost touch with that aspect of myself, but I'm going to try to translate that into my now life. I liked that. Yeah.
It's like a perfectly okay Saturday or Sunday afternoon movie during the holidays. Exactly. You're just on the couch. It's raining. You're not going to go outside. It doesn't bother you. There's a really good Bazigar joke in it too, which I thought was quite good. So it has good elements. It's not. I don't think it should be slept on, Suki. Actually. So yeah.
Right. Agree.
Um, who watched Thank You for Thank you for watching? Thank you for coming.
Thank you for smoking.
Amrita and Beth, you
I
watched
watched
right?
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you guys think?
Yeah. Did you like? I think I spoke about it on like a couple of episodes ago, but it was fine. Like again, like Suki, for me, like it was just fine. But I think you liked it a lot more.
So I feel like this movie was wildly mismarketed as a kind of sex farce, which to me it is not. Like there's a little bit of that, and I see how you would do that for the marketing, but it missold the best parts of the film to me. I had no idea that it had some sort of. Someone on my Twitter commented to me that they liked how it was not afraid to go to some darker places. And I feel like dark is too strong a word, but it had kind of more depth to it and more kind of tooth to it than I thought it would. And this is talking about a person who kind of hates herself in some ways, and reckoning with that is important. And I liked that the film really focuses on a bunch of different women who are at different stages of their lives doing interesting things. And there's emphasis on what friendships can mean. And we know that female friendships are not particularly seen in Hindi films very much. And I really liked it. So if you can sort of put aside the marketing and try it anyway, and just know that that's not as much a part of the movie as you've been led to believe, I would really encourage people to watch it.
Amrita, what did you think?
Yeah, I think that it came off to me as a sort of pale imitation of Veere the Wedding.
Yes.
You know, which was an infinitely better movie. It had like better stars. Like this is the kind of movie that really rests upon the charisma of the leading actors. And I don't really think the cast delivered. So Veere the Wedding, like, like you would watch Kareena Kapoor Khan do whatever, because she's Kareena. And that really helped it along. And then Sonam is a clothes horse, like, she looks great, like all the songs and everything, like it looks like really amazing. And Swara is a really great actress. Like all of those things really helped Veere the Wedding. And this movie just didn't have that. And also the comedy bits were just like, like I didn't particularly find it funny. So I don't know. It was fine.
Oh, Kusha Kapila is in this one too.
Barely. Barely. Which is too bad because she is funny, and I thought she was quite good in Suki.
Yeah, she was quite good. Yeah, interesting. I like Bhumi Pednekar though, so I don't know if I'll watch this, but it's been kind of like there's a lot of. I think it's been pushing. The algorithm has been pushing it to me, so it like her face is appearing a lot. So I might give it a chance. I don't know. Sujoy, are you gonna watch either Suki or Thank You for Coming?
I think you guys sold me on Suki, so I might give it a try in one of those, weird days between Christmas and New Year's when you lose all sense of time and space. So I'll just put it on.
Yeah. Plus, it's one of those movies where you can actually be on your phone while you're watching the movie, which I know you like a lot. You enjoy that experience.
That's why I've been watching a lot of subtitled movies. That's when you cannot, be browsing on your phone once you watch it.
True. A big teaser dropped this week, The Fighter. This is Siddharth Anand's new movie with Hrithik Roshan, Anil Kapoor, and Deepika Padukone. Amrita, what did you think of? Surya, what did you think of the teaser?
I think Siddharth Anand loves. I think he's perfect at the craft of making a really crisply edited trailer, but I still prefer like the Bang Bang trailer over all his other trailers that have come out. That trailer is fire. But having said that, this is still like I'm hyped, man. Hrithik Roshan and Deepika Padukone, scorching the screen. They look hot. I saw a joke on Anil Kapoor's image in this movie. He's in the fighter pilot uniform, and somebody was complaining, "Oh, why is he in every movie now?" And somebody else replied, "Oh, somebody has to pay the bills for his house or for Harshvardhan Kapoor's sneaker addiction problem." I really enjoyed this trailer. There's not much given out. It's just a teaser kind of, right? There is a shot of Hrithik Roshan coming out of the helicopter in slow motion with a flag flying in front, behind him. That looks like a really cool shot.
It's like literally the war.
I don't know.
It's literally war. Like just a different vehicle.
Yeah.
Like he's going to step out of a rickshaw next time with a flag behind him, or he's going to step off a cycle with a flag behind him. That's the thing now.
Less stubble, less bronzer. This time he looks happy.
Amrita, what do you think of the teaser?
I mean, I'm excited to see Hrithik and Deepika together. Like, I cannot believe it's been this long and they haven't collaborated on a film together. Like, it's wild to me that we don't have a Hrithik and Deepika
But again, Hrithik is doing very less movies anyway, right? That's the problem.
He's had like a lot of serious health issues. I think around the time that Deepika became like a legit A-list actor, that was when he was in the hospital for quite a few years, you know? So he's just on his recovery and he's just coming back to where he was before he got ill. And yeah, the stars have finally aligned. I thought that picture of, Deepika and Hrithik on the beach was going to break the internet because everybody just lost their damn minds about it. They're just like so attractive, like two insanely attractive people being directed by a man who understands sex appeal. I mean, it's been a really long time, I think. Like, I think Sid Anand is probably one of the very few directors currently working, not just in India, but like anywhere in the world right now, who understands sex appeal, but also the value of sex appeal. And that people like to watch people like who are like sexy and hot. And it's my Christmas. Like I'm super excited for January.
Beth, what did you think?
Okay, I have two main thoughts, one of which I think I've shared on this podcast before, but if you are watching a film from a culture you are not a part of, that jingoism is extra funny somehow, right? So like, I am sort of hardwired to, in some ways, respond to American jingoism the way they want me to, but mostly I find it horrendously cringe and terrible. But Indian jingoism, I think, is hilarious because it just doesn't work on me in any way, right? So when the flag unrolls, like I was just cracking up. But also, the other thing is I watched this 3 times, twice on regular speed. And then I thought, I want to know if there's actually anything in this movie other than planes or helicopters. I mean, so then I watched it on like 1/4 speed, which is super weird. It's like when you watch Wrecking Ball really slow. And I still don't really have any sense of anything. It's still mostly helicopters. But like there's a scene of, I assume it's Deepika hugging another woman. There's another woman in this film, even momentarily. Like, oh, who knew? And like I tried at that funeral scene, I was like, why are they all intensely looking at each other? I have no further information for you, but I do recommend watching it on 1/4 speed just for lols.
Yeah, this did nothing to me, to be honest. I watched it and I felt nothing. Like there was just like, stuff I've seen. I'm not like, I want to know who they're fighting first of all. Like that's my main concern.
Yes.
Call it the fighter, shooting people, jets. Who are you fighting? Tell me. Don't keep it a secret, so I can, we all pick our teams then, But I mean, it's fine. I'll watch it. I'm just not sold on Siddharth Anand as a director. I'm not. Like, I don't care. Pathaan was great. I had fun with it, but Tiger was better. Like, he's not a great director. He can do action set pieces, but a lot of those action set pieces I have seen done better in other movies, So I'm not sold. I'm still not. So let's see. And yeah, the flag thing and the jet thing was the big thing. Didn't do much for me. The rest teaser is so short. Like there's a lot of shots of Ray-Ban. There's a lot of shots of helicopter. Like I just find it funny that Anil and Ritik get a jet, but Deepika gets a helicopter. These kind of things. Like the lesser of vehicles. So I mean, I'll see what it is when the teaser comes out. I was surprised that we wanted to talk about it because I just found nothing to talk about it necessarily. But it's coming around the corner very soon. So yeah, I'll be watching it with Zoya in the theaters when it comes out. So yeah.
But we already know, like Asim's opinion is absolutely moot because he thinks Animal is better than Jawad. So really, it is like, disregard him completely, please.
I got also called a paid critic this week.
Oh yeah.
For the Archies.
Segue to the Archies. I got
Asim wrote to us on the group chat saying I've been called a paid critic, and then
I basically tweeted. I sent you a message. People are coming at me like I made the movie. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also I need to I got the paid critic, and then people were also like, so somebody said to me, yeah, these reviews come out way early before the movie comes out, or it's the paid critic. I was like, guys, there's something called a press screening that comes in before that the movie comes out. You can watch the movie and then you can talk about it when the movie has released. That's what happened here. And it usually happens when a filmmaker actually has faith in the movie that they're making. They give you 3-4 days in advance to actually watch the movie. Think about it. If the movie if the press screening is happening the day itself or the evening before, either it's that they don't give a shit about critic reviews or they don't have that much faith. And I'll be honest, like there's a few filmmakers that they will show it to critics, and Zoya is one of them, Amir is one of them, Anurag Kashyap is one of them, Amir Khan is one of them. Did I mention Amir twice? Or did I not? Anyway, there's a few of the Karan Johar
biggest
also.
Fan.
Like there's
biggest
a few
fan.
people out there. The people I like, basically, they give you a critic screening. I asked for Animal, there was nothing, so clearly we knew where we standed there. Yeah, let's get into our main review, Archies. It dropped on Netflix. A lot of discussion this week has been about Archies. I'll read a few of those too later on. But Beth, let's start there. Are you a fan of the comics?
No. I mean, they were part of my childhood as well, but very much early childhood. And then by, age 8, 9, something like that, I was not into that anymore. And if you want stylized, very sanitized representation of Eisenhower America, there are more options for you when you grow up in the US than the Archies, such as Happy Days, which I did enjoy, the TV show, right? And I know is bunkum as well. But yes, the Archies holds nothing for me, and I'm shocked that it's fascinating to me that it's such a thing in India and that you would bother to turn it into a film and then, in my opinion, not really do anything interesting with that context.
That is the part that I just so find fascinating with the Archies, how it's connected with certain countries. Like I was asking Martin, my British friend, and he's literally never heard of the Archies. So something is traveling in certain places and really connecting. Like in Pakistan, it was huge for me. Like I used to go buy all of the digests. I had the Betty and Veronica. I had Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I had Archies. I had the Yuck Yucks. I had the Omnibus. Like even now, if I go to my daughter's bedroom, I could just pull up a stack of Archies that she has now read, and now she's a huge fan of. So it's just it's crazy how certain things kind of connect. Amrita, you were right. Like we've talked about Archies before, right? It was a big thing for you too, right?
Is a huge thing. Like we used to go to school and exchange them. There was like a whole black market in Archies. Somebody was like, there was like a Archie bandit in my school that was like stealing Archies out of like people's school bags. Because those weren't cheap. Like, like you could get a tinkle for like $10 or $20 or something. But an Archies in those days would cost like, like $80, $100, whatever. So they weren't cheap, and like I'd go to the library and like check out like a whole stack of them, and like I think I just went through the entire lot one summer. So yeah, like the Archies were huge, and we all read it, and we did it on a generational basis. Like I got into the Archies because my brother used to read the Archies. My brother's like much older than I am. So yeah, we all read it, and we were all very much like, this was before liberalization in India. So the Archies was our window into Americana. It was like, Beth is wincing because it is such a specific vibe. But for us, like, that was what America was for a very long time. It was like burgers, and it was like the small town where, kids drove cars and like they worked maybe.
Jalopies.
And,
they drove jalopies. Like it's a word I learned from Archies, literally.
And they were allowed to go on dates together, and they used to like, go to the movies together, and that they would go down to the local watering hole and like jump in, and like all the things that you see in the Archies is almost faithfully recreated from like things that we have seen the Archies do, or the gang do, like Archie and the gang. Like we've seen them do in the comics, except for the Green Park thing, which is like really funny and unnecessary.
The funniest part, Amrita, is when he said, London mein Green Park nahi hai. I was like, dude, that's the station I take. Like we have a Green Park. Anyway.
That's Green Park.
Sujoy, I remember that Sujoy, this was not a big thing for you, Archies, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely not. Like I grew up, I think nobody in my friend circle read Archies, or it wasn't considered cool. I think there was like a hierarchy of coolness based on comic strips and what you read. I think Tintin and Asterix was on the top of that.
Really?
And then the next were like, for some reason, because obviously Tintin books were really expensive, and then the next level where I think the superhero ones like Superman and all the X-Men and Batman and all of that. And then the lower level was like Raj Comics, Nagaraj and Chacha Chaudhary and all of that, So I grew up in that sort of a circle. I think my recollection of Archies was like the daily comic strip that used to come on a Telegraph or like the Statesman newspaper columns in the comic section. That was probably it. And I never used to read them. I probably was only stuck with reading Dennis the Menace or something like that.
Interesting.
That was more my vibe.
I just want to note that I also read Asterix and Tintin. Thank you very much.
You're very cool, Amrita, in my eyes.
Is that why you guys ended up becoming friends with me? Is it the Belgian that you were brainwashed into as children that like...
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So, speaking of the movie, like obviously it was a big thing, and like this is like, so I just want to like lay the cards on the table that I was like ready for this movie, right? I'm very pro nepotism, as you guys all know. Like I love nepotism. Give me as much as you can. I love Zoya Akhtar. Like for me, there was a tweet going around like, who are the best Indian directors? And they had like all men on it. And I was like, what is this? It's Zoya Akhtar. That's the answer to this question. It's not like Rajkumar Hirani or like, the guy from KGF. Like, it's crazy that you even put that guy on the list there. But anyway, for me...
Sandeep Vangareddy is the answer.
Right. He's one of the 4-5, yeah. But so for me, Zoya Akhtar is literally the best. And so I was like wholly ready. And I absolutely love the movie. But Beth, let's get to you. What did you think of Archies? Coming from somebody who's not necessarily an Archies fan, and also like you have insight into kind of the Americana of it more than maybe we do.
Yeah, it was interesting what Amrita was saying. I was like, yeah, those are all things that I think small town Americans probably, I don't know, at least by my era, those were largely accurate to my experiences, and yet the comic doesn't land with me at all. Anyway, I'm kind of tepid about this movie. I certainly didn't hate it. I just didn't feel like it accomplished anything really, other than look spectacular, which is not nothing, but I thought it was beautiful. I love the costumes, the set, all that stuff, like the sort of imaginary world that it was creating was fairly effective to me. Not that I know anything about the Anglo-Indian experience, particularly other than a few days Amrita and I spent in Darjeeling. Like, and I'm curious kind of how it worked as an imagined space and whether it was doing anything important or meaningful, but like I just didn't get that much out of it, but it was sort of pleasant. You know what I mean? But like there wasn't much there in terms of actual story or content or character development overall.
I kind of feel like that was on purpose though. And I think like I co-sign about like what you're saying about the aesthetics of this film. Like it's a beautiful film. Like the production design is top notch. The costumes are so fun. It's a proper musical, like an actual musical. Like there's all these scenes that are set up where they're singing to each other about, like instead of dialogue. And it's very American in that way. It's like very like 60s Hollywood, that vibe. It's perfectly distilled and like brought to life. I think, so this is actually this is like an official Archies production. And it is made in collaboration with Netflix, obviously, but also the people like, the Archies, like the actual comic book company, like the Marvel comics or the DC comics. There's also an Archie comics. And they are the people who produced Riverdale as well. And my understanding is that when they were looking to make this movie, they went to Zoya and asked her if she would make this movie. And they said that they were looking for something different from Riverdale. Riverdale is like very edgy. It's sort of like futuristic. It has like all these like crazy time travel things happening, etc. And there's murder and there's mystery and like Archie is tortured and there's all sorts of things. And they wanted something
kind of, right?
a lot.
That's the vibe they were going for, I think.
Sorry?
The vibe they were going for with the Riverdale show was Twin Peaks, but mixed with the Riverdale. Like that's an actual quote. I'm reading like what they were aiming for.
Yeah. And for this one, they wanted something that would be a lot closer to the original vision of the Archies, which was like 1950s Americana, right? What Beth was saying about the Eisenhower administration, for those of you who don't know what that is. Like, so I think that sort of, the thing with Zoya Akhtar is that she is a very personal filmmaker. Like all her stories that you have seen thus far, they all clearly come from a place that she has inhabited, right? Like even, I think like Gully Boy is probably the one movie that is further from her experience, her own lived experience, than any of the other movies that she's made. And I remember watching Gully Boy for the first time and thinking, well, she's kind of doing like, like poverty face, like she's just sort of cosplaying a little bit here. It didn't completely land as authentic to me because it wasn't coming from a genuine place inside of her, unlike, say, Luck by Chance or Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara or Dil Dharakne Do. Like all of these are like very personal movies. And I think with Archies, she was trying to find something personal and like write that, and then she just wasn't able to really do it. And I think that's the basic flaw of this movie, is the fact that Zoya really wasn't able to fire on all cylinders like she should have. But having said that, I think this is exactly what I thought this is about 90% of what I thought this movie would be when I first heard about it, which is a movie that is perfect for young people. Because at its heart, like for a whole week, we've been listening to people talk about how terrible Animal is and what does it teach society and blah, blah, blah. And here comes this film and it's saying things like, hey, kids, it's okay if you're gay, like, and, we'll be friends. Like, even if you're gay, like, we will be your friend. And we should take collective responsibility to better ourselves and our society. And, we should participate even if we are young, and ideals are good and principles are good. And these are all things that might come off as super trite to somebody in their 40s like us. But if you are, say, the age of Asim's child, who is looking at people who kind of look like her, telling her these very super positive things about the world, what an impact that makes. And we don't really have a lot of movies that do that,
We had our fourth rewatch of this movie this morning. Fourth.
No, I told Asim this. I told Asim this as soon as I saw one of the songs. I was like, Asim, your daughter's gonna be obsessed with this film. Yeah. She's gonna be obsessed with it. And I think that is, again, going back to the whole nepo-ness of it all, I think that is part of the strategy, because these are the kids who are gonna grow up in the next decade and idolize these people, this cast. They're gonna remember them for a very long time. Same as, say, our generation remembers Kumar Gaurav, even though, he never made a good movie after, his first movie, or Rahul Roy, or any of those people, they're going to remember these kids. And it doesn't matter if, it's one of those movies where it doesn't matter if you're a great thespian or not. The product in itself is guaranteed to remain in your memory.
What about you, Sujoy?
So, I expected this to be what it is, basically. And I think there wasn't anything that surprised me or wowed me. And I was ready to be enamored by the universe that was created. And it all looks very, very pretty, as everybody has said. Because most of the time, Bollywood set designs, when it comes to creating a world like this, either falls into the Sanjay Leela Bhansali sanitized version, or it just looks like a set they built in Film City. And somehow they created this authentic lived-in world set in the past, and they pulled it off. And I absolutely love the indoor shots, the outdoor shots. Everything looks like it belongs in this time, these people are genuinely living there, which I really appreciated. The second thing that I sort of knew that wasn't going to work for a lot of people, but it works for me, is that, musicals, I don't know, for a country which produces so many song and dance movies and has produced over the decades, we still haven't found ourselves able to appreciate the musical format. So I've seen people actually make fun of, that politics song, right? When Archie says, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know anything about politics." And then their friends turn around and do a whole number about everything is politics. And they're actually making fun of how they can just break into song and dance about politics. And that particular format is somehow still alien to us. And I think that also happened with one of our favorite films on the podcast, Janeman, which also had that song and dance out of nowhere. And the story progresses with music. So that format is still a bit alien to us. I think in this universe, it works brilliantly. And you are right, Amrita, that the writing is very weak sauce here. The dialogues are awful, awful. And there's not a big sort of conflict that they have to overcome here. And I guess that's the whole argument that people are putting their arguments up against, how can these Nepo kids be in a movie like this without having anything to prove or whatever. They are pretty to look at. They are commanding the screen for me. Pretty much all of them are absolutely doing great jobs here, and especially Agastya. I can see the Bachchan gene on when he appears on screen. Oh, like, I'm not kidding here. Even Khushi Kapoor, I really liked her as Betty in this movie, and obviously Suhana as the rich brat Veronica sort of works. But in the drama scenes, oh my god, she is fire on screen. I really liked her. It's the writing that is the big letdown for me here.
It's fascinating because two things I like this movie. I was speaking with my critic friends about it, like, because I was very positive and my review came out quite early. So people that do film criticism professionally, like that I speak with, they reached out to me on WhatsApp. We were talking about it, and a lot of people were saying, yeah, Suhana Khan is just not credible or believable, and or their voice inflection is lacking. They're very flat in the way they speak. And both of those things are so subjective. You don't have an argument for it, right? In a way, like, for me, no. Like, for me, she was totally credible. It worked really well. I didn't have any qualms with it. I don't feel neither Agastya, neither Khushi were flat. I found maybe it's one of those things where, I think a lot of film critics now, even the younger ones, are 30-something. And they don't hang around with 16, 17 years old. I have nephews that are 17, 16 years old. That's the way they talk. That's the way they are. Like, I didn't see that much of a difference there, But it's very subjective, and like, people are now pulling out clips and saying, look at this horror of two women talking to each other, or like, and I was like, what are you seeing that's annoying you so much? I just do not see it, And maybe like, Sujo, you were even commenting about it, I think, right?
Yeah, so I posted this tweet which has completely taken like 35k views. I don't know. It's basically that coffee scene where Betty's sat with Veronica, and Veronica is sort of apologizing for missing her birthday. And that's just a 13-second scene. And people are going nuts like, oh, these are going to be our future actors,
like, it's the end of
for
cinema.
The next decade.
Like, Suhana Khan brought on the end of cinema. And I was like, what are you...
They literally compared it with Heat, with fucking Al Pacino talking with Robert De Niro. I'm like...
I think people are like a little bit insane, to be very honest. Because I don't think people remember, like, this is their debut. Like, I don't care how many workshops they've been doing a year for the whole year. This is literally their debut. And if you've seen,
Alia Bhatt, like, literally student of the year, which I feel is Karan Johar's Archies, or Archies is Zoya's student of the year. I rewatched it because my daughter is a huge Alia Bhatt fan, and I watched the Varun episode with Siddharth. I was like, rewatch student of the year. Alia is unbearable in that movie. She is so bad, But then literally she dropped Highway after that. So I don't understand.
Somebody on Twitter literally said, at their age, Priyanka made Aitraz. And I was like, are you insane? First of all, Priyanka was not their age. Priyanka was 19. She was like younger than them. And B, have you watched Aitraz? Like, are you seriously trying to tell me? Like, this is exactly what Asim was saying. It got to a point where I was beginning to feel gaslit.
Yeah.
I was like, is there something wrong with me?
Am I the drama?
I was like, did I just watch something entirely different? Was I high when I watched this film? Like, why? Like, why am I having such a solidly different experience? And then after that first 24 hours lapsed, normal people, sane people started watching it, and they were just like, oh, this isn't bad. Like, this is actually kind of, and they were apologizing for it. Like, the number of people who were just like, I'm sorry, but I like it. Like, am I allowed to say that?
Aitraz was Priyanka Chopra's 8th movie. I just went through IMDb because I saw that tweet too.
Wow.
And I was like, this is an 8th movie, not the first, So even the comparison doesn't work for me. But anyway, chalo.
Also, like, because the hate piling was so much on, I almost took it on myself to, it's my responsibility to defend Suhana and Agastya and Khushi for some reason.
And it's so insane that, these people will talk from morning till night about nepo, and how we shouldn't be giving them any attention. And they will just give them all the attention by talking about them. Meanwhile, there are like 4 other actors in that film who did an amazing job. That scene between, like, the standout scene, the one scene that was like really well written, that somebody pointed out was lifted, like word for word from Percy Jackson. But it's the scene between Vedang Raina's Reggie Mantle and Yuvraj Menda. Yuvraj Menda's Dilton Doily. And the context is that Dilton is gay in this version of the Archies, and he has a huge crush on Reggie. And all throughout the movie, you have these little Easter eggs where Reggie is standing up for Dilton, right? And Dilton is just crushing on him in a very obvious manner, except nobody picks up on it. And then there's a scene where Dilton is on the verge of coming out to his friends, but he chickens out at the end, and he's just really emotional about it, and he can't talk about it. And the only person who really understands what he's going through is Reggie. And there's a scene where, so they're staying overnight at this lake house, and Reggie and Dilton are sharing a room, and Reggie comes in and says, "I know that you have a crush on me, and I'm sorry that you have to live with the pain of knowing that I don't reciprocate. But I want you to know that you'll always be safe with me and that you'll always be my friend." And I was just thinking about what a revolutionary thing that scene is, because not only is it like 2 men or 2 boys, and also Reggie is this very masculine boy, right? And Dilton is a fairly effeminate boy. And they're having this conversation, and they're so vulnerable and real with each other and truly love each other and are really good friends. But also it takes place in a bedroom that they're sharing, because we've all had, well, actually, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I know I have had homophobic friends who have said things like, "Oh, I never share a bedroom with a gay person or a lesbian because I don't feel safe, blah, blah, blah." And it's really important that scene took place in a bedroom. And I was just thinking about how maybe a week or 2 ago, there was this young child in some like tiny town somewhere in the heartland of India. And he wanted to be an influencer, and so he used to do like makeup tutorials.
Yeah,
and
I read that.
And he was bi, and he posted a photo for Diwali in which he wore a sari, and he was just really proud. And all these trolls showed up in his comments, and they were just relentlessly mean to him until he took his own life.
God.
So that kind of scene, it can sound incredibly trite to people like us who live in like very different contexts. But I imagine like young children, like 14, 15, 16 years old, who are living in very different contexts, engaging with this kind of possibility in the world for the first time. And I just think about how important that is. Or even that song, that Everything is Political song, where, they're talking about like things like, it's all related to children. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed that, it's not like, nuclear war is political.
Like sports,
it's stuff
how many sports teams will we have, when can we drive, these kind of things. And that's what I liked about the Dilton scene too. Why? Because it's basically, the only message is it's okay. And that's all a young kid wants to hear. They don't want to have like a big coming out scene or a big reveal or him finding a boyfriend or, anything like that. That they just want to hear it's okay. And that is all the Archie's world is, right? Like, it's about just being okay. And I think that is such an important message. I thought that was really well done in this movie too.
Somebody was saying on Twitter, I don't understand why they're all so nice. Like, it removes all the tension from their storytelling. Like, even the mean girl is so nice. And I'm like, yeah, welcome to the Archies. Like, Ronnie Lodge is not like a mean girl. She's just a rich girl who has always been encouraged to put herself first. But at heart, she is basically like Betty and Veronica are basically the same person. They're literally drawn the same way, except Betty has like blonde hair and Ronnie has black. Like, it's literally the same.
What I really liked about that Dilton scene also is that, you know, the alpha macho jock of the group encourages him, saying, you don't have to come out. I'm not going to be forcing you to come out. It's your story to tell.
Yeah.
And at your own pace, you will be the one to tell whenever you're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the changes that they made from the comics, right? Reggie is like a straight up bully in the comics, and here they don't make him a bully, right? They make him much nicer, and he, in a way, he has the biggest arc also in terms of character, right? And also for me, I think Vedang Raina is the best performer out of all of these kids. Like, if I would say who is a star after Suhana, I would say it's Vedang.
Yep. And
I think he just does an amazing job. And I do think that the conversation has been hijacked by the three star kids, and not enough people are talking about the other ones. The other thing I want to also share is that I love the musical English thought bubbles that Betty has. And those are all written by Dot, who's playing Ethel, right?
Ethel,
she might even be singing, I'm not sure, but she's the one that's wrote them. I think they are wonderfully done. Beth, what did you think about those?
Those are my favorite aspect of the whole film. They're beautiful, and they're so beautifully sung. Those were very moving to me. And I didn't remember, is Betty a diarist in the originals, I assume? Yeah. And so I didn't remember that, but I thought that was a beautiful little, through line. Yeah. And it emphasizes that there are different ways of thinking and different ways of expressing yourself, and that was hers. And it's just sort of lightly there, not a big deal. And the things that I loved most about this film, I think, are the things that are sort of not, and there's nothing in this film that's really hammered, which is really nice, but there's a lot that's sort of lightly sprinkled in that you can take up. And hopefully, as you're saying, the kids today will get the messages from it that are genuinely positive. And like, I really loved that there's this, not only the song about politics, but there's a song where the young women are saying, you don't get to treat us this way. That felt like a huge triumph to me, even though it's not a huge number, but it's really lovely.
And she wrote the songs and she sang the songs. And I just think that's kind of very interesting for Zoya and Tiger Baby. So, we're launching Star Kids, but this is another way of having creativity added by a newcomer. Who does that? Who makes a new actress also allow them to sing and write the lyrics and become such a big part? Okay, the role might not be so big, but she's a very big part of the creative process. And that is really cool too, It's just another way of thinking about it. And I just find it a bit sad that people that are watching this movie or discussing this movie cannot think in a different way. They just have to see, we're just seeing Star Kids and they're flat, and what's going to happen to cinema. I thought Khushi as a Betty is amazing. I thought it's exactly who Betty is. With all of the comics I read, she is the sweetest, the kindest person, that even though she knows that Archie has gone on a date with Veronica, she still makes him scrambled eggs, and she still has that hope in her voice, and she's just like a hopeless romantic. And maybe it is a bit of an outdated kind of character that she's playing, but we're literally in the 60s, right? So I thought she was amazing. And also her voice really reminds me of her sisters. They have this kind of lilt in her voice, like a little lyrical quality of it. I thought it was really, really cool.
Speaking of nepotism, I would like to ask Beth, how excited were you to see Jamie Alter as Mr. Ghost?
So excited. And I actually didn't recognize him, but as the credits were going, I was like, I really liked Mr. Gomez. He was like, that was a nice little thing. And I was like, oh my God.
I only knew
But also the other.
Beth, I only knew from your tweet when you tweeted it. I was like, oh my God, that's him. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, the supporting cast in this movie is excellent.
So good. So good.
Excellent.
Like some Tiger Baby regulars, but also some people that we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, Kamal Sidhu as Mrs. Lodge. Like, I screamed, and it was so perfect. Like, of course, she's Suhana's mom. Like, I absolutely see it, you know. Ali Khan as the dad.
So good.
Always, like, reliably excellent. And then what
Tara
was the name?
Sharma, Koyal Puri.
Yeah, like what was the name of the guy that plays Betty's dad?
Satyajit Sharma, Hal
Yes.
Cooper.
Yes. And then Archie's dad is also played by somebody that I know, right?
Yes, I've seen
what's his
him
name?
before, yeah.
Fred Andrews, Suhas Ahuja.
Suhas Ahuja. Yeah, I think he's like a tiger baby. He's like a tiger baby. Yeah, I've seen him in like Made in Heaven, I think.
And Luke Kenny, obviously.
Luke Kenny! Oh my God!
And Sweetie Woo from Kalhonaho.
Yeah, Sweetie Woo.
The last
Dil Nazarani. I mean, it's so lovely to see all of these people. I genuinely, like, it's, again, as Sal calls it, joylessness Twitter. Like, that's what came out to play, I don't know, like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get all the hate. I thought everybody did a fine job. Like, if you have seen what, all these people looked like in their first film, like the people that you think are amazing actors today, if you saw their first film and you see these kids act, especially people like Dot, for God's sake, like if you see, what they have accomplished in this film, nobody's asking you to call them like Al Pacino, but I think they did a competent enough job, for the love of God. And I'm also really scared for Vedang, because the way that even the people who liked him are talking about him is in relation to his co-stars. There is no like Vedang is good. It's more like Vedang is better. So what is going to happen is, like, next year or something, I think he's coming out with a movie with Alia Bhatt. And when that movie comes out, the Alia hate train is going to be ready to roll. And Vedang is going to get steamrollered in the process. Yeah. They're going to say things like, oh, he was like so good in Archies. What happened here? Like, I can already see the discourse happening. Yeah. And I am already worried for him, because he deserves better. He deserves much better.
That movie is Jigra. That's being directed by Vasan Bala, by the way.
I also wanted to mention Nikhil Kapoor as Pop Tate. I think he also appeared as Karina's father in Ek Main Aur Ek Tu, if you guys remember.
I absolutely love the songs too. Like, just generally, like, as soon as Hule Bule came on, I'm in. Like, seeing these kids dance together, and like, we just like have like a really proper 60s party, with that song and this album that came from, because I remember, like, when I used to go to Pakistan back in the day, I used to bring music and like albums for my cousins and stuff like that. Look what we're listening to and stuff like that. Usually nobody was that excited, because, I was sending like rap and nobody understood what it was back then, So they brought my uncle. I remember I brought him like my uncle like a mixtape. And he was like, why didn't you bring Celine Dion? Isn't she big? I was like, Celine Dion? What are you listening to? Disconnect, like, but what I wanted, but here everybody was in it. I was like, this is lovely. That, like, I don't understand how people cannot like the roller skate song, Dishum Dishum. How can you not?
Roller skates make everything better.
Yes.
So good. So fun.
Like the choreography is so in sync and nobody roller skates.
Yeah.
Like
Really
this
good.
is a skill they had to learn for this movie, right? And they are so in sync. Like there's a sequence where Agastya is like lies down and then they skate over him, all of the girls with their kind of legs apart. And it's like, it's so like so well timed, like I don't know how they did it, but it's just an amazing shot. I don't know, like I think I also read somewhere that, like, you need to watch this movie like a Disney movie, like be it a high school musical or like even like a Pixar kind of world, Monsters University or stuff like that. And I don't understand how you can then not appreciate it. I don't know what people want. Like, if you're not happy with Animal, you're not happy with the Archies, what do you want? What will make you happy?
I think people need to get more comfortable with the idea that not all media is meant for everybody.
Yeah.
I think
It's meant for me.
I just,
What's the last
Like,
movie that's universally been loved? Jawan, right? That's probably the one. Or Animal, right? I mean,
But we didn't like it, so it's not universally loved, is it?
yeah, because Tiger was.
Yeah, I don't know.
So Joy, what were you saying? Sorry, I cut you off.
I was saying I still can't dissociate Suno from the DuckTales theme song.
You need to make that mix, man. I want to see it. I want to remix it.
Maybe I'll text Shai about it.
also Suhana sang one of the songs.
Did she?
She sang the there's like a
The
duet
date song.
that she and Archie on the date song.
Jab
She
tum
and
na
Archie
thi.
sang. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And
her.
Suhana
Yeah.
sang
Okay,
it.
wow.
Yeah.
That's a great voice that
It's
she
really
has.
cute. Yeah, she has a really good voice.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about Suhana Agastya specifically, I think. Beth, like when I came out, I was thinking, I saw Agastya, and obviously, my stance on the Bachchans one. We'll be talking about it on the Filmi Lady soon, inshallah. That's going to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Isn't it fun to see a Bachchan be young on screen? Like, we've literally
That is interesting.
never
Yeah.
seen that, right?
And not hellishly tall. I said it. You all were thinking about it. I said it.
I think you mean gangly is the word. Maybe like gangly, like
Yeah.
legs all
Sure.
over the place with Shamak Davar choreography. Here, like
Nach baliye.
he was so in sync and like everything felt like a normal person. Like I thought it was just really joyful to see Agastya on screen. I'm really hoping for good things from him.
I mean, I found the three leads a little, one of you was saying they're being criticized for being flat. And I think I would kind of agree with that. But also everything about this felt so stylized that I thought that's sort of, it was hard for me to tell what was maybe not the best acting, what was on purpose, what was a happy accident. I don't know. But I do think it's probably to a lot of people's benefit, not just these three, if your launch is in a very stylized thing, right? Like that can provide you some room to make some not as strong performances, but it still works pretty well. Because I did think most of these things worked well enough. And if you're saying like, this is how kids today talk, like, good, then it's going to work even better than I'm understanding it too. So in a way, I feel like they were quite lucky to get a film like this for their debut, for many other reasons as well, right? Like the fact that it's called the Archies, it has all this built-in popularity before it even starts, like, and that the format for some of the songs is a little unusual or experimental or whatever. Like that's helpful.
I think I made this point when I think we were either reviewing Aranyak or Family Man, one of those. I just feel like Desi people hate their teenagers. Like on screen, I feel they always hate them. Like, and I don't know what it perpetuates. Like, they're all annoying. They're too liberal. They're too modern. They just want to have sex and stuff like that. And I just think that's a weird thinking that, like, it constantly like I was finishing up Kala Pani, and it's the same thing. The most annoying character is the 17-year-old boy. And I don't know what.
Because it's written by really terrible parents.
Yeah, older people, right? And they can't connect with it. And I don't know why that is. I love younger people. I think they're so joyful and they have like so much to add and to say and like the way they think. But
And so much positive hope towards the world where we are slowly dying inside,
so it's just something that I just find very interesting to see online discussion, that like this idea of teenagers are annoying is now seeped into film criticism too, because that's what we constantly see on screen, and I just don't agree with it. I think I think the kids are great. I think the kids are going to be all right, what else is there? What is, Amrita, what do you think is the crossover appeal of this movie? Because I think that's a factor too for this, right? And I think, Beth, when you're saying, like you could hear a bit of the flatness, but like when I watch a Korean show or I watch, I don't know who's a good actor, like who's delivering their dialogue well, because I'm totally missing that. I miss that in South Indian movies, like maybe that's why, a lot of these actresses have careers in South Indian movies, because I don't even pick up on how they're delivering the dialogue, right? They have so much dub dialogue and stuff like that too. So maybe this is one of those points that won't even come through, but I do feel that Netflix is not promoting this movie the way they would with a Korean show, like I've not seen that same push.
So, interestingly enough, I think one of the first reviews that I saw of this film was from the LA Times.
Yeah, and it was positive, right?
And it was hugely positive. They actually, there's a new miniseries out about Cary Grant that is also called Archie, because Cary Grant's actual name was Archibald, and they used to call him Archie. And they were talking about like how the Archies is better than Archie, the miniseries. Yeah. So they really liked it. So I think the crossover appeal, again, for like kids is huge. Like, if parents put this on for their little kids, then, like it literally will be what I think Archie Comics wants to achieve with this particular franchise. But yeah, like I don't know if people know that it exists, apart from like all of Indian Twitter crying about it for like 2 days now.
Yeah.
I was talking about this very briefly with a colleague. He asked me, what had I done the night before? And I said, I watched this thing on Netflix. And he was like, what? It was totally baffling to an American who has no knowledge of India that I don't think a lot of Americans know that the Archies comics were /are popular in other parts of the world. And I would be very, very, very surprised to meet any Americans who are like under 20 who've ever even read it. But I could be very wrong because I don't have kids and I don't know. But so I think that there's going to be like a value to it. And even if Netflix does push it really hard in the US, regardless of whatever algorithm, I think that will very much confuse American viewers anyway. Whether they tune in to watch it, I don't know.
Like, I don't know if like my thing was like, if people are going gaga about the dance numbers in Barbie, like wait till you see the Archies,
Right.
That's the crowd I'm thinking
exactly.
about. I enjoyed Barbie. I'm not going to say, I really, really liked it, really enjoyed it. But there's no competition. Like if you just speak about dance numbers, like it's insane. Like these kids are doing much better than these grown-up dancers are doing, right? And I don't know. It's just I just find it very interesting. The reviews have generally been positive. They're not maybe mind-blowing, like from non-desi critics. I think they've been largely positive. Even Amy Nicholson for the New York Times was quite positive about it. And she's not necessarily like a Bollywood writer. She's like a critic, a regular critic. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what people actually want. What do you want? I don't know. I know I'm quite biased about this movie. I think I already was ready to like it. So I'm like, the only negatives I could find kind of is that I do feel the second half drags a little, like when the whole Green Park thing starts happening, but I get it why it's happening. And the other thing I also just missed is gags. like I read the Archies for the gags, and there's not that many of them. There's there's the one where Reggie says, change is inevitable. Then why didn't Jughead pay me back? That guy. That is such an Archie's joke. Or when Archie tries to come into the country club, and he says only brogues and loafers are allowed, and he says, but I am a loafer. I thought that was like such an Archie's joke. But again, because I'm such a huge fan of the comics, that's where I could pick this up, right? And I missed that in the second half. It's only when Reggie suddenly becomes a stand-up comedian, which is a thing that he wants apparently, that they have a few more gags. But that's the element maybe I was missing. But otherwise, no. Like literally, I've watched it already 4 times, this movie. So I don't know what else I could like. I don't have much negative.
So
Whoa.
I think a lot of people came into this film with the exact opposite mindset of you, like the exact opposite. They wanted to find something that they would hate. And I saw somebody, and obviously like Suhana, even before the movie released, she was the hot target, right, for everybody. Just because she's Shah Rukh's daughter, yes. But somebody on Twitter was talking about how they have been running across people who say that Suhana's not believable as a rich girl. And they rightly pointed out, like, that is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard in my life. Like, what do you mean Suhana's not believable as a rich girl? Even if she was the worst actress on the planet, that is literally who she is. Like, she's Shah Rukh freaking Khan's daughter. Like, she lives in Mannat. Like, what do you mean she's not believable as a rich girl?
When she calls her dad to let Archie in the country club, I was like, Suhana has made these calls many, many times. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Daddy.
And she's like, and the person that was talking about this was like, there's a very simple explanation for why people would say that, and they're not willing to admit what the actual problem is, which is colorism. It's not that Suhana doesn't look like a rich girl.
Ooh.
It is that she doesn't look like their idea of what a Bollywood rich girl should look like. And that is also, and that is also why a lot of people keep saying that Khushi should have played a Ronnie Lodge, which she shouldn't have. Khushi is perfect as Betty Cooper. Like, she's just, I totally agree with what Asim said earlier about Khushi bringing that sweetness, but also that physicality. Like, literally, like the hair, oh my God. Like, I know people have been talking about the wigs and blah, 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 but there are scenes where I literally had to pause to look at Khushi's hair, because I was like, that is Betty's hair. That is literally what her ponytail looks like. That is incredible. And with Ronnie, like, it literally comes down to Suhana being darker than they feel comfortable in and I've also seen like a lot of people on Instagram and Reddit talk about like, well, be honest, if she wasn't Shah Rukh's daughter, like, would she have the chance? And I'm like, what about, because do you remember what she looked like at the premiere where she showed up in that red
Jessica
dress?
Rabbit. She looked like damn Jessica Rabbit.
Right. And I'm like, the only reason you would look at that absolutely smoking young woman and be like, well, she's not attractive, is because you don't like dark women.
I have a story about that.
Literally what it is.
I have a story about that. Like, we, when I was growing up in Belgium, my uncles, they had like lots of different groups, and there was one of my uncles who they used to make fun of because he was the darker one. They used to call him Kala and stuff like that. And they started like going out with white women at that time. And like one of the girlfriends asked, like, why do you call him Kala? Like, what does that make sense? And he's like, yeah, because he's black now. And she like did not know what they were talking about. It's like, you guys all look the same. Like, you guys literally all look the same. There is nobody dark. Like, she had not seen. Like, they knew they were brown. Like, I really wonder this colorism thing. Like, I have a little bit of it because I'm not, wasn't grown up there. Like, if you have Ajay Devgan and you have Salman Khan, Beth, do you think the first thing when you think of Ajay Devgan is like he's darker than Salman Khan? No, right?
No. And it's so interesting that you say this because whenever there's talk about someone's complexion, like a film star's complexion, I don't see it. And I'm not saying I'm trying to be like, I'm colorblind. I genuinely don't see a lot of these distinctions. I can notice that the bad guy henchmen extras are almost always much darker complexion than any star or even secondary like character actor. That I see. Yeah. But like, it would never have occurred to me that Suhana Khan was dark.
Yeah.
I'm not attuned to these distinctions.
I was watching Jughead XX the other day, and there's a whole thing about being the first dark-skinned Tamil superstar, right? And I imagine that's a cue to Rajinikanth, I imagine. But I just never picked up on it. I was like,
no.
I don't know. Are we different shades? Me, you, Amrita, and are we the same shade or are we different shades? Like, I don't know. Like I'm literally looking at each. Like, is it just the lighting or are we different? Like, I don't know.
Let me put the spotlight on me.
I'm not answering that question.
I'm not going to throw this to Beth. I'm not letting her decide.
No, it's this is something that I often say. Like, it's just really hilarious. Like that story that you just said, Asim, that's like really hilarious. But it's something that I often say to Indians who talk about like, like Muslims in the West, like blah, blah, blah. Or like anytime there's like an Islamophobic, incident in the West and some right-wing Hindu person shows up and it's like, well, like that's what you get for being like, a Muslim or whatever. And I'm like, they're just as likely to do it to you because they can't tell the difference between a Hindu and a Muslim. All they see is brown. And like, these people literally cannot process that thought. Like to them, they're like literally racially different. And I'm just like, no, they just like, they don't like any of us, baby. Like, like they're out to kill all of us. Like if a Nazi looks at a brown person, they're not going to stop and be like, hello, excuse me, are you a Muslim? Oh, you're a Hindu? Oh, well, fine. You can go. We'll wait for like the Muslim to come along. Like that's not how that works. So yeah, it's just really, really funny to me. And I hope all the kids in the Archies, I don't know if any of them listen to this podcast or if their friends listen to this podcast.
There's millions of them. But,
if there is any crossover, I just want them to know, like, you know what? You are absolutely fine. Like there is, I don't know what anyone was talking about. You're fine. And your next movie, best of luck for that. And congratulations.
Mm-hmm. It's also interesting, like, I think with Animal, like, we had, like, a very long discussion and we could really go deep in it. In a way, I don't feel Archies even merits a very deep critical analysis, right? Like, I think I'm kind of done with talking points, like, I liked it. A lot of people didn't like it. Let's talk about negativism. Like, I kind of feel I'm done with this movie. Like, I'm going to rewatch it and really enjoy it. But, like, it's so light. It's so happy. But that doesn't make it pointless or vapid, right? It just makes it a good time, and I had a good time. It is literally, a sundae. It's like an ice cream sundae, and it's. I had it. The cherry was great, and yeah, that's kind of it. I don't know. I don't have much else to say about it.
No, and there is absolute value in filmmaking of that sort, I feel, because the number of my friends who have like little children. Who reached out to me and were like, hey, is it okay for somebody who's like around, say, 10 years old or below 10 years old to watch this movie? Because I think it was certified like 12 and above or something on Netflix. And they were just like, hey, is it okay for like little kids to watch this? And I was like, yeah, sure. There's like a couple of scenes where they're kissing each other, but it's like very like restrained kissing. And then there's like a scene in which like they're talking about being gay, but like that's literally it. Most of it is them, singing and dancing and being nice people. That's
and
basically
putting on a show to save the rec center.
Yeah, Yeah. What could be more Archies than that? That is so cute. So I was actually telling a friend of mine with a daughter, and they wanted to start introducing her to more Bollywood movies. And I was like, well, just be ready to watch this on loop for the next 2 years. But apart from that, sure, you can go, let your kid watch it. There is a distinction between series that feature young children but is meant for consumption by adults.
Yeah.
Like Stranger Things or Class or, all of these things that are meant for adult viewership. And something like the Archies, which is meant for children and adults. And yeah, it's just really baffling to me, what people expect from this.
Yeah, I think we're done with this. I think Archies is fun. It's good for kids. Watch it. And, I just feel the way the world is going.
No. This is the time when you give the Taran Nadarsh Komal Nahata version of the review for the reels. Asim, do it.
No, that was specifically for Animal and the audience. This is not a running theme that I'm going to be doing. I'm literally going to turn into Taran Adarsh. I just wanted to say, this is what
Suhana Khan good. Agastya Nanda good.
It's just what I needed. The way the world is going, this is the movie I needed, and I think that's what it's, that's what I really appreciate about it. And there's not a lot of movies like this, and you can just put it on and just forget about it and enjoy it. Because the last
I just don't get how much hate you have to churn out of something this beautiful. What negativity is living inside you to be oh, this is going to destroy my world. I just don't get it.
Also, just if you're anti-nepotism, you don't like Suhana Khan or Zoya Akhtar, just do not watch it. That's the only, nobody's forced to hear your opinion. I don't know. Anyway, chalo. Beth, where can people find you online?
So on Twitter, I am Beth Loves Bali, and apparently I'm going to be there till the whole thing really does blow up, because the jokes are still really good on Twitter. And then I also co-host a podcast called Filmi Ladies, which is at Filmi Ladies on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all those places. And we are very indebted to Khandaan for all the guidance and encouragement they have given us. And we're going to get Asim on there soon to talk about Bachchan in some way or other when the fates align.
It will happen. It will happen. Who else could talk about Bachchan than me, man? It has to be me.
Only you.
Amrita, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter and also Where the Skies Are Blue at Amrita IQ.
Sujoy?
I'm on all my socials on TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter at 93K. And you can follow Khandaan Podcast on all our socials at Khandaan Podcast.
I also had this idea. Actually, I didn't have this idea. My wife, amazing wife, had this idea, and I think we should implement it. When we were looking at the numbers, there's so many of you, right? And we have not heard of so many of you. So if you follow us on Instagram or on Twitter or on TikTok, and drop us a line that I am a new follower, or you've come, something that I know that you're new. Amrita, when she came from India, she brought a lot of merch, and I still have it waiting. I'll send some to people anywhere they are. And I think this could be kind of a cool end of the year thank you kind of gift to all of our listeners. I don't know how much stuff I have. I do know that I have a lot still. So that could be cool. So if you're and this is also because I think we do a lot for Patreon and not for our regular listeners. And I think there's a lot of them are that, they can support us, or India has made it impossible to sign up to Patreon. This could be a cool thing. And we'll send you stuff. So, follow us on Instagram or TikTok. And TikTok is still banned in India, right? So on Instagram, and drop us a message that you're following us recently, and we'll send you some stuff. That would be cool. I'm at Asim Bernie. Drop us an email at youpodcasting@gmail.com. And next one is Raja Hindustani, and the one after is going to be Dunki. So thanks for listening, guys.
Khandaan Podcast on the acting.